Hello, and welcome to another episode of Truth Wanted. I'm your host, ex-Christian Erin, and Truth Wanted is a live call-in show that happens every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central, where we want you to call in and tell us what you believe and why. Our lines are open, so if you want to give us a call at 512-991-9242 or through your computer at tiny.cc/call Truth Wanted. Oh, sorry, tiny.cc/call TW. Each week, we feature a special host and our special guest host, and tonight is no exception. We are joined this evening by Dave Warnock. Hi, Dave.
Erin, hello. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Yeah.
This is one
Yeah,
of my...
I've been looking forward to hosting with you, and we did a show of some kind a while back, a couple of months ago, and it was fun. So yeah, when I got the chance to do this, I jumped at it.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Yeah, we met it was almost a year ago now. We were kind of fighting for the same side in a conversation about death with dignity. So that's where I met
That's
you.
right.
We had a really great experience. It was one of my first things I did on the internet, and I got to know you a little bit there, and I've been following you ever since. What kind of things have you been up to lately?
Just trying to get back to some semblance of normal life as COVID is loosening its grip on us, and we've been traveling a little bit, not a whole lot, and doing a lot of shows like this, and finishing up my book, which should be
Yeah.
done this summer, and I'm excited about that. So yeah, doing
And
well.
how's that going for you writing a book?
It has been a cathartic experience. It's just like reliving my whole 37 years as a Christian and the deconstruction of it, and it's just yeah, going back down memory lane. Some memories are tough to relive, and some are pleasant. So it's a mixed
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah, totally. I know one of the things that you and I have in common is that we both came from a charismatic kind of evangelical background. Um, are you going to share some of those experiences in your book about some of those?
Yeah, there's one scene like you remember who Benny Hinn, you know who Benny Hinn
Yes.
is, right?
Yeah.
Faith healer, charlatan, scam artist. That's on his official. It's on his official resume, I think. But yeah, I share an experience of going to a Benny Hinn crusade, and my thoughts about that. And even then, in the midst of seeing that, I really wasn't buying into it. I'm thinking there's something wrong here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember thinking back a lot of those times too during those really kind of the more wild events that I went to as a Christian, and like fully engaging in it, but there's always just like this little kind of part in the background that I'm like, this is a little bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm wondering if people like us who had um, some fringe doubts all through that process, if that is the reason why people like us get out of it, because others that go through the same kind of life don't get out of it. Like my older brother, as he's still an
Mm.
evangelical pastor, and my siblings and my own daughters. I mean, so yeah, you have to have a little bit of a skeptical edge, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard it described too that the denominations that focus on things like faith healing and these evidence for like speaking in tongues and those sort of things, that the demand or not the expectation from God is quite high in those
Mm-hmm.
denominations. So when you finally start to kind of doubt that, that you could kind of like the bigger the disappointment and the more dramatic and more traumatic it can be for a lot of people coming out of those kind of denominations, because it was a very intense experience. And then once you kind of realize it's all falling apart, there's a lot to kind of wade through after that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Those of us that were deeper in it and had greater expectations of God and expected Him to be more involved in our lives, when we come out of that, the fall is hard. I mean, and the
Mhm.
disappointment is great, and you're traumatized. Thinking as opposed to the person who just kind of casually went to church and prayed a prayer, but when he was a kid, but never really got involved. I mean, their exit is a lot less traumatic than someone like us.
Yeah, I think so. In my conversations with people, it seems that for other people coming from maybe a less intense background, their deconversion seems to go a little smoother for them, I would say, in some ways anyway.
Yeah, totally. Dr. Marlene Monell, who coined the phrase religious trauma syndrome and deals with a lot of deconstruction trauma in ex-Christians. She speaks to that issue that the more involved you were and the more intense it was for you as a believer, the more intense and difficult it's going to be for you on the way out or when you get out.
Yeah. Did you ever go through a period where, like, shortly before you left, you actually kind of had your most intense belief kind of right near the end? Because that's what happened for me, and I keep hearing it from other people too. It's like you're not ready to like deconstruct or leave, but that last little bit you push extra hard to kind of make it work, and then when it doesn't, you kind of everything falls apart.
I had 2 or 3 years at the end of my faith where I was on staff at a church. I was a pastor. I was preaching and teaching. I was praying and fasting. I once fasted 21 days in the midst of that season where I was just really in hot pursuit of God. And it was almost I didn't think about it at the time, but as I've been writing my memoir, I realized that was kind of like this last push to make it make sense, to push all the doubts and questions aside and just deep dive one last time. I wasn't thinking that way at the time, but looking back, it looks like that's what I was doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Didn't work.
Yeah. Another thing you've talked about, which I really appreciate you bringing up, is kind of the way that you structure your life when you're in that intense of a faith denomination, like the expectation that Jesus is coming back like any 5 minutes, and how you can kind of make your life choices based on that expectation. I really connected with that too, because I thought the rapture was happening. I thought that I wasn't going to be around past 25. I remember having a bit of a crisis once I hit 25, because I wasn't expecting everything to be here still. So like, he is super late.
Right. Don't go to college. Don't get a degree. Don't get a career. Just Jesus is coming back. So we got to save souls. Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really kind of strange to be years later and it still hasn't happened. So when people now come and say, like, you need to turn around because he's coming back like any day now, I'm kind of like, well, talk to me in another 15 years and see if you're still like feeling that much urgency about it.
Oh, I know. I engage with some of these young, real fervent Christians on TikTok, and these guys are me 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I go, oh God, just shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you were on TikTok as well, right? That's probably I've seen your TikTok. You're doing better at TikTok than I am.
I got talked into it, and I kept thinking, I don't want to do that. That's just a bunch of teenage girls dancing. And it's not. I've had some really good conversations. I've met some really, really good people on there and made some good connections. And yeah, it's just another platform. It's another way to connect with people. That's all this is. It's just all these platforms are an effort to connect with people, because that's where the life is those human connections. And if we can't, my preferred method is to meet in person and to have actual human connections. But in lieu of that, and until then, these are good platforms and good venues for connecting with other humans. And that's what it's all about to me.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of go wherever the conversation is. It's a lot to learn on a new platform like that, but I think you're doing awesome with it.
Thanks. That's
yeah.
fine.
So it looks like we do have some calls on the line here, but first we're just going to take a minute to shout out our patron of the week. So every week we take some time to thank everyone who donates through patreon.com/truthwanted. But we're going to take some time to make a special shout out to our patron of the week. And this week it is Elizabeth Ruff. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for donating, and to everyone who donates on patreon.com/truthwanted. That's how we make the show happen. So if you want to support what we do here, you can check that out there. So thank you again, Elizabeth.